Okay, we're on the live YouTube.
Okay. Welcome everybody. Friday, February 21, House Energy and Digital Infrastructure Committee. And we are here with Legislative Council and JFO to continue our discussion of draft 250896, an act relating to the Agency of Digital Services. For the record, I am Representative Kathleen James from the Bennington 4 District.
Scott Campbell from St. John's, Calgary, Essex.
Richard Bailey, Lamont 2. Chris Morrow, Wyndham, Windsor, Bennington.
Michael Southworth, Helena, Hinton.
Christopher Howland, Rutland 4. Graham Butler, Chittenden 13.
Laura Sibilia, Wyndham 2.
Please.
Jack Walker, Committee Assistant.
Super.
Lisa Donovan, JFO, IT Consultant. Jacqueline Frazier, Morris Braddock.
Great. And I'm sorry, representing
Gainwell.
Gainwell. All right, for the record.
Oh, Rick Sagel, Office of Legislative Counsel. Feels like I was here just yesterday. Very recently.
Okay, that's a good one.
Okay, I sent the chair and the committee assistant draft 1.4, which is I think what you should have. Now with fun yellow highlights. Rex Adelia held me to the fire. And actually this time there's not as many changes, so it's easier to not just have a document full of yellow. Madam Chair, if I just kind of walk through my minor changes from last time.
Yes, please.
Okay. The first change just really grammatical. The current draft, the statement of purpose, I changed it to dashboards instead of dashboard. This current draft, there are two dashboards. There's a public and a active project dashboard and a completed project dashboard. That would be two dashboards. So I changed it from dashboard to dashboards. Much more. Well, the next I'm still on page 1. We went through this during committee. Make sure you think the language makes sense. At the bottom of page 1, I'm going to start with the underlined portion and the extent to which the projects in subdivision 4 of the subsection are on track to meet stated project business goals. We still have not defined business goals, but maybe that's something we can discuss now, or maybe at the end of my walkthrough.
Why don't we walk through your walkthrough and then come back because we need to. Yes. Walk through your walkthrough.
Okay, through my walkthrough. Page 2, the most substantial change to this draft. So subdivision 4, previously we were reusing some of that language and then typing new language. I just decided to strike it and kind of reword it. I think we need to probably start fresh on subdivision 4. And you'll notice some of the words are being reused, but again, it's all strike through. So we're going to start with fresh language in this draft, and that is the following: for IT projects with total costs of $500,000 or greater, an outline summary of information which shall include and we have some details, the scope of each project, which was in the current language, the status of each project, which is also in the current language, the comprehensive schedule of each project, including the original and current estimated date of completion, all previous estimated dates of completion not included in that previous subdivision. So the intent there is to catch any other history, so to speak, estimated dates that have come and gone, to make sure that's included in that schedule. 3, the original and current estimated budget, and again 4, all previous estimated budgets not included in subdivision 3. We can discuss that. I think it makes sense maybe once I'm done with the other changes. No changes on page 3. On page 4, the very bottom, I did my best to further define what current means. So I added the sentence highlighted in yellow. Current IT projects include active and inactive projects that have not yet been completed.
active.
I'm wondering if we should also add, I don't know, right here somewhere, there's something about canceled projects. Because one of the things that the auditor noted in the report last June was about the Secretary of State project that went off the rails completely and they canceled, and then they had paid in advance to the contractor, which they were having a hard time getting back. Anyway, that kind of information seems like it would be useful too. I don't know if it goes here or somewhere else, but I just don't want to forget about that.
Yeah, I could add to the end of the sentence and projects that have been canceled. Something like this.
Yeah,
You know, I wonder if we don't want to add that on page 6, line 5, into the completed projects dashboard. That can be completed and or abandoned projects.
Oh, yeah.
Capture them there.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Projects that have been completed and or abandoned in the last 3 years. That language will become.
When we get down to that, then we can kind of read through it. And then as we were looking at page 6. And to kind of clarify, I got rid of the section 2 that I added last time because I believe that these new highlights I've added have addressed the let's call it transition period, but the dates period as far as how far back we're looking, and what current means. That language last time just kind of I think was needed, but now that we have further defined what completed means and what current means, I don't think we need that section 2. But the change here is the agency shall maintain a project dashboard on its website that provides a history of all IT projects that have been completed in the last 3 years with a total completed cost of $500,000 or greater. And then we can add in the projects that have been canceled or abandoned.
Okay.
Yep.
That's another question. What do we do about the $500,000? We're
Yeah.
keep it out.
gonna get rid of that, we're gonna be all projects.
I didn't know if there was a consensus, but we can.
Yeah.
We can do that.
So as I recall, there was some discussion about, yeah. But there was discussion, I think the deputy auditor said we don't want to end up with, their.
Oh,
The small
yeah.
yeah.
That's right.
So maybe a lower threshold.
So I wonder
Okay.
if Lisa Govan might have a suggestion for us for the level.
Well,
You know what? I thought we were waiting to hear from, we wanted to hear from ADS on that.
Yes.
Now I'm remembering there were three choices that we were gonna run by ADS, right?
whether it was direct allocation.
Yes,
Yeah, sure.
or ECMO.
Yeah, because I think that it's whatever, I think what we want to do is choose however they identify, the category that they identify with any type of review is needed. So they've already kind of made that, because they don't do independent reviews like on bulk software purchase. So
Yeah.
No.
I think they have that
Yeah.
defined, and I will ask them when I talk to them on Monday.
Okay, that's right, that's what we did.
Yeah. And did we tell folks you're meeting with them on Monday?
I am meeting with them on Monday.
Right. To get detailed feedback, and then obviously we'll have you and Secretary Riley Hughes come back in right after that, hopefully right after that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was a TBD, and you've got that on your TBD list?
Mhm.
Okay.
So, may I?
Uh-huh.
So one thing I noticed that was missing was from the first dashboard language, the status category, because that tells us how valid the dates are, how fluid the dates are. So if they're anything before the execution phase, then we know that they're really subject to change. And that's included in it's in the annual report too. It's that in execution or in planning or initiation. I think that's important to give the data context.
Is that the one I had highlighted? Is that what you're referring to?
I don't think so.
What page?
Because
This is page 5.
Because it could be. Let me check that.
Line 8 on page 5.
That's the start date, right? Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. That if
And they
it's,
may not be
if
worded
it's
correctly.
populated by a date, then we know it's an execution.
Right, this is the dashboard. This is not the reporting.
Yeah,
Did you want that to be the reporting? The annual,
no, that it already is in the annual report.
this, what I have highlighted?
Not that language,
Yeah.
but it's the status. That's what they use for their project management phase and
Yep.
in that report. So
Okay.
that's there.
So yeah, I have in this new language, this is the report language on page 2,
Okay.
just so everyone can follow along. Line 11 on page 2. I did bring over the word status. Because it was in the current language that I have struck.
I mean, I want the committee chiming on it, but
Yeah.
because I'm satisfied that you pointed out if there's a date, the execution phase, it's,
Yeah, I want to make sure it's clear to everybody though, you know,
Yeah.
if we kind of know, wink, wink, what this means, we want to make sure that everyone knows what status means and what execution date means and, you know. Maybe part of your discussion on Monday.
well, it would be nice if happening on the page where the dashboard exists, there are kind of instructions of, you know, a description of what the report means, the open report means.
Mhm.
Can I ask a question about the 500,000?
Yeah,
Did you want that to affect the annual report and the dashboard or one or the other?
shouldn't it be consistent?
I
I mean,
think so.
I don't think we should be asking them to do different things in different places.
Well,
Calvin?
the completed and canceled, the canceled dashboard, do we want a lesser amount or just a summary of all other canceled? I mean, what are you trying to get from this report is the total amount of where the ADF budget's going or gone in the past?
Going, gone, and
Well, the gone for,
about to go.
well, no, but the gone portion is for use in projecting the future need. And so is there any idea of what the sum of these small projects are compared to some of the larger ones that are over 500,000?
No,
Are there a bunch of 50,000 or just 3 or 4 100,000?
We find out what ADS thinks is the appropriate cut. Is it direct appropriation? Is it included in it and EPMO?
So there are.
Is it a dollar per code? And I don't know how much Microsoft Office costs for the entire station. It's something, but it's not $1 million, I hope. So maybe even $100,000. I don't know. It's got to be something between everybody having a subscription to Microsoft Office and doing major projects is what we're trying to get to.
I'll have that conversation with them on the way
Great.
and get that feedback because I think that type of purchase isn't included already. And I think part of the reason why ADS included all of those numbers on the existing dashboard was to, you know, their ability to answer questions, anticipate questions that they would ask that they can post to the dashboard.
Yeah.
And that if it's a direct appropriation, somebody cared about it and might want to see what's going on with that project.
Have you set up a time for the meeting?
It's at 2
Two.
on Monday.
Okay, we'll finish our walkthrough and then I have a whole list of committee organizational topics I want to talk about that triggers that question. So just remind me to come back.
So that is the end of the walkthrough.
Okay.
However, there were a couple of questions I think about we didn't really discuss the language here. I'll leave that open to the committee. What you think about the language and any suggestions you may have.
Well, business goals.
We can start with the top. Yeah.
Representative Southworth?
Thank you. I don't want to derail everything that is being done, but I provided you with a copy of the
ABC form?
IT ABC form.
Yep.
A lot of what we're writing in here is already captured on this form. And I just don't want to reinvent the wheel when it's already being done. I know the secretary said that that form, because of its format, there was an issue with that, but they're already capturing a lot of this information. And I just ask if it's maybe more beneficial for us to key in and attach access to this somehow, instead of having to go through all of this report building. There's some stuff on the dashboard that I think is very useful. I don't want to see that go away. But this IT ABC form is just what we're wanting for information. It lists out business goals. It lists out, reasons for increases or decreases in the amount. It's all captured there. It's just, I don't want to waste people's time for creating something that's already available.
Same.
One of the important points that you were making yesterday, Mike, was that form is not static. It's not just at the beginning of the project. It continues on and being updated with changes.
Right, and it could be updated more frequently if need be, but it's the form that they currently use to capture everything that's going on with that project.
So what I'm hearing in that is, yay, the good news, a lot of what we're looking for. I mean, ADS they have all the information that we're looking for. So that seems like good news. And so in my mind, I feel like we're trying to find a snapshot way for us and the public to easily be able to see this at a high level without asking everybody to read the IT ABC forms and keep going back to those. That's what I'm feeling.
And it makes it more accessible, creating a little mock-up report so I could anticipate any problems with the request. I noticed some things within the longitudinal data that I really hadn't noticed. So being able to, I agree with you around, the text, language. It would be great if that was available so you could look at this report and the analysis and see the percent increase by year and say, what's going on? And then, get into the details of the report.
Mm-hmm.
So I think both are interested. I agree that anything related to text usually isn't that great in a dashboard. Yeah, exactly.
Right. I feel like, and I could be wrong, I'll be curious to get ADS's perspective on this, but in my mind, stated project business goals refers sort of obliquely probably to the EBC form.
Yeah.
And I'd be curious to get ADS feedback on whether we need to be more explicit or whether we leave it vague, like are on track to meet stated project business goals as outlined in the ABC form or something. Because I'm with you, Rep. Southworth, this entire exercise is not to create a ton of extra work for folks, but rather to take all the stuff they're actually doing and just get it somewhere that the public and legislators can see it better.
Right, there may be subtle nuances within that form that don't answer people's questions exactly, and that maybe can be worked on, but it's already being captured, it's already being done, and I just really want to key in on that.
Yeah.
But it's not being done as thoroughly as that for all projects. I think that's part of the issue. When you look at some of the ABC forms from other.
But I could maybe refer that to Ms. Galvin. She may have a little more input on that.
Yeah.
Well,
And again, at a glance, for me, what's really important for me is to see every project in one line. Like the current dashboard, which sounds like can't be the tool, but every project gets one line. So you can skim it, see where we're at, and then for further information, you refer to the ABC form.
I agree with that.
almost pulling high level stuff from that, wherever it comes from, and so that you can print out an 11 by 17 thing that,
But it's not gonna be something that the public need to give to the city. Is there stuff in there that is sort of confidential?
I will ask that, have the discussion on Monday
okay,
on maybe they can post them or maybe they can develop them with in mind that they will be posted.
yeah,
So they would include.
You know, I think it's contractual,
Yeah.
requirements or negotiations or something like that.
because she said right now there's static Adobe forms, right?
Well, but they keep adding, what's not static about them is they keep adding
Right.
information to them.
Rep
Semi-static.
Putnam? Yeah, semi-static.
Semi-static.
I mean, I think ideally to prevent duplication of effort, the dashboard we are hoping to see could draw from wherever that data is housed automatically, so it could populate automatically instead of having to redo it. And if there's not information in there that we want to keep confidential from the public, we could link the line on the dashboard to that for someone who wants to dive into the details.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's just-
Yes, Representative Bailey?
Didn't you say that their form was unworkable?
Yes.
Yeah. And they're working.
And they are working on the crane system, this.
Yeah.
Cranes.
Their current dashboard is, my recollection, their current dashboard is probably not going to be the tool for us because, it's configured to match their very specific project management standards that they follow. And I'm sorry, I can't remember the phrase, but the international,
PMI.
yeah, oh, sorry, for the record.
Jocelyn Fraser, Lauren Strategies, PMI.
Yeah, so their dashboard is configured to help them move through their specific project management, best practice stuff. And so one, it's not going to suit our needs because it sounds like it's suiting their needs okay for their project management process. And it sounds like it's a wonky platform that they may struggle to update or take customize. And so in my mind, I keep envisioning that their dashboard remains untouched by the legislature because they're using it for a different purpose. And we get, and the public gets to see some sort of, I know I keep calling it an Excel spreadsheet, but just because in my mind, it's a fairly simple, thing where each project that we're tracking has a line and there's the columns and you can see it all in one page. And it's pulling data that they already have from the ABC form. And I'm not sure how the ABC form differs from the ECMO reports. I'm sure there's quite a bit of overlap. And if that can, if it's an Excel spreadsheet, I know we all decided that not everybody can easily download and use an Excel spreadsheet, but I'm very interested in offering ADS a path so that we in the public can see what we need all in one place very easily without asking them to completely reinvent the wheel, spend a bunch of money, because I know ADS is already on the path they're committed to improving their transparency and their reporting, and I'm just seeing this as an interim step that'll get us what we need now. So if it's as far as I'm concerned, if it's a simple Excel for now that links to the ECMO reports or links to the ABC forms, if those are not confidential, I am okay with that. But that was a long monologue. I apologize. So I feel like, I'm sorry, Representative Sibilia, to my right.
I think the thing that is most important for me is when we look at that dashboard, which is really great and helpful, but the notion that the start date is not necessarily the actual start date.
Right.
That's the biggest challenge for me. And so that's not showing up in there, and that cloning idea really makes a lot of sense to me. But
Yeah.
that for me is the biggest kind of piece that I think we should have our eye on in terms of oversight and making sure that we understand. I mean, there's a gajillion reasons why something could like go there.
Yeah. Rep Troy.
Yeah, for me with the color coding too, like understanding that what we're seeing in the dashboard might be for a phase, but we want to see the color coding for the overall
Yes.
project. And I think we're missing that.
We're missing it right now. We would not be missing it with this.
With the future.
Rep Kleppner?
Do you imagine that once this dashboard's up and running, this committee would look at it on a weekly or monthly basis?
I think if we fail to do that, we have really wasted people's time.
Oversight.
So that's a yes.
Yeah.
Oversight is our job.
I guess I would say that's an emphatic yes. So, here we are. I'm sure to the of everybody as a committee, like, hi, we're back. And now we're going to dive into oversight. And aren't you happy? And I think the great news is that I think that ADS is happy about that. And I think they're already moving in this direction and they want to be partners with us on that, which is good by me. But I think because there hasn't been a committee that's been really able to spend time on IT oversight, really what I feel like is that we're the contractors who've just arrived on the job. And it's like, we are, really anxious to work on this project, but we don't have our tool belt. And so I feel like we need to get ourselves a tool belt. And then if we fail to use it, we should be criticized. Rep Southworth, Rep Sebelia.
So we as a committee, we would do that, but who's to say committees further on down the road are gonna actually take the initiative to look at it, to review it? And that's, I don't want to put so much into this and creating it that it's just a waste, rather than using what's already available and making it so that it's there for use, instead of creating something that we're envisioning is going to be most helpful for us as a committee, but down the road, is it going to be the same for them? And I want to be very cautious that we're not just creating more and more and more to the point where it's either unattainable or we can't manage it properly.
Representative Sebelia, did you have a comment, question?
Yeah, well, I was thinking about my rep. My God, it's Friday.
No worries.
And also Rep Southworth. And I was trying to, the question of what would we do with this information? Both of these things together, I thought it was such a good thing for the governor to do, to create the Agency of Digital Services, and the work that has been going there, and the work that the current secretary is doing to refine and improve processes there. Having lived through all of that during the legislative period of time, I would say that the legislature has not really done a great job of their job of oversight. And that is our job, to, make sure that things are going okay. We're the people's representatives, right? So how are things going? So I think it's a great question. I'm thinking about like, what's something comparable? And the thought that came to mind was appropriations. Not that we would be in that level of detail,
Right.
But I mean, that kind of looks at across all government. And then I would say, Representative Southworth, we're maybe creating the standard for the legislature to provide oversight. I mean, we haven't really done this in a consistent way year over year. And we're not matching actually the administration's efforts in terms of improving all of those processes. And so I don't think it's for naught. I think we're kind of leading the way for and setting the standard for committees that would come after us. I hope this committee will continue to exist going forward. I think it's really important and has to be for a number of years.
Yeah. And you hit on the fundamental philosophical reality of the legislature, which is that we're here for 18 weeks, once a year, and then we all are up for reelection and half of us move on, we don't come back. And so we just need to try to do the best work we can while we're here and hope for some continuity. So unless folks have other thoughts, I feel like we need to stop until we hear from ADS. Yeah.
And I know that, Mr. Skull actually looked at this. Is there any conflict with PII in that or any confidentiality that you saw? Just at a quick glance.
Probably, but I think that's up to the agency to tell us what they think is, confidential. Not knowing what this contract was for or what it's about without reading it deeply, I couldn't tell you, but I don't think they'd be ecstatic of just putting those online.
Can I just say, what is PII?
Personally identifiable
Thank you.
information.
Thank you.
Half my portfolio, I think, is
Yes,
PI.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I wasn't
Yeah.
there.
Sorry.
Well, my question is about start date. Start date being the conception of this new computer system that this agency wants, or start date being when they've already gone out or going out for bid?
We have two. Rick,
Yeah, so it's a good question. The section I deleted, that I added last time had a kind of this must be operational by July 1st of this year. There's an effective date on the act.
No, I think he's talking about the project.
Oh, when
I'm talking about the specific project.
The specific
current projects or the completed projects.
Well, how do you define start date? Like, is it at the scoping phase or is it at the implementation phase? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I think Lisa has it.
I think I can help. I think with the way we structure the dashboard, it notes when the project initiation starts. So the first bit of the project, and then the execution is when the real project work starts.
Okay.
And my point on wanting to know when that was is because that's when the dates really should be firm and the clock should be firm versus the earlier stages. So it does capture both.
So the first initiation might be planning stage and the execution date might be the date of the contract.
And presumably there are a bunch of projects that start in the planning stage and never get to execution.
I've had many of those.
I mean, I'd imagine someone says, hey, we need this. And people say, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And then they dig into it and say, oh, we don't need that actually, or it's impossible, or some other system already does it, or like whatever the reason. Yeah.
Then we might need to include the word planning in the definition of current. Because it is a project that is in the planning phase. Is that active? Is that an active project?
According to ADS, it is,
Okay.
and there are many in the annual report that are at that stage. And going through them year after year, like I did when I was mocking things up, you really see how things kind of come and go, projects drop, and then they might reappear 2 years later. And so I think that captures that.
In that planning stage, where does the money come for that? Is that just out of their admin budget?
I had that same question.
Well, I think their proposed budget would have it come from a source. Right now, if ADS is involved in the planning, they bill out their services for their staff. They do bill backs.
It shows,
Yeah,
the budget of the agency that is requesting the work.
Yeah, I wondered that because in the
Know that. I mean, they could have $1 million in even though AGS is billing them back, they could have $1 million just envisioning what this new program to be before we even start going out to buy the projects.
that roller coaster graphic we saw, that the loop thing. I had the same question as you, Brett Bailey, because my assumption anyway is that the big bucks appropriations that, we see come in once they sign that contract. Like, once you get through those first two arrows and you start going like this. And I had a similar question that I didn't ask about. Where's the budget money coming for those first two arrows?
It can be anything.
Hmm.
For instance, IE&E on that project, they have an appropriation for a full system way back. I think it was around 2012, but they're still using that to do some of their work now.
Hmm.
So it could be from direct appropriations that were just really old, or discretionary funds that they have available. It could be anything.
Um,
I have one more comment.
yeah, correct.
Something to think about over the weekend is, again, my world of definitions, the word dashboard. You all have maybe varying ideas of what it looks like. It could be a spreadsheet. It could be a web table. You might also do some research on what other agencies do when it comes to reporting. Some of them have these web tables that are basically online spreadsheets that are printable. You can print them in nice, PDF format. So if you kind of have this idea of what you want this dashboard to look like, you could be more prescriptive in the statute and say, this may include, a web table, something, because the word dashboard, again, is not totally, it's not defined. So it could be anything. Just something to think about.
And I guess that's something I would like to ask ADF about, because I don't need to dictate technology.
No.
to them. Definitely not. And I do have concern about the word dashboard, but I thought I'd address that when I talked to ADS on that day too. On what
Okay.
they think it should be.
Great. So, next steps for this bill. We absolutely need, feedback from ADS, so we're not blundering down an alley. And, so we will need, kind of informal feedback, and then we obviously will need to ask them to come in to testify. And my thought is still that we're going to vote on this bill and try to get it to the floor before crossover. So, because if this bill doesn't go to the floor before crossover, then we really have we've missed our moment with this bill. So, my question is, who wants to report it on the floor?
You and me?
I am. I wanted to give you first dibs. Do you want to report this bill on the floor?
I'd be happy to, whichever.
Okay.
Sure.
Because
Or Laura.
if we get out 125, that's your bill.
Yeah.
The reason I ask is that I think it's important that the bill reporter attend the meeting with you on Monday. Would you be available? Because I feel like we shouldn't be outsourcing our work too much here. So
It's a Teams meeting right now, unless you want to walk over.
Oh, I will be here on Monday.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you're good with that?
I mean, I won't be in the building.
So you're good with a Teams meeting then?
I'm good with the teams meeting.
Okay.
Unless I have to see what else I'm doing.
So
2 o'clock.
and then we'll talk a little bit more about
minutes.
bill reporting and all kinds of stuff. But voting.
2:30. I mean, 1:30, 2:30.
Oh, you need can you get it from the? Somewhere.
I'll make sure I have.
You're the clerk.
Yeah.
Okay, congratulations.
So,
Sure, I guess.
so here's what I'm seeing as the broad arc of this bill, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but so, if Representative Campbell is willing to be the bill reporter, and for our new folks, it seems obvious, I'm sure, but that means that, Representative Campbell will report the bill on the floor. So he will stand up, he will give his bill report. We have from the clerk's office available to all of us a guide to how you report a bill. And I will make sure that everybody has a copy of that because it's just really instructive. There's definitely a way it goes. So what I see as our next steps are, Rick, are you going to have a next draft here, or are we just sort of holding?
Well, I think, Lisa, if you want to invite me to that meeting, that might be helpful, just so I can listen at least.
Okay.
And be able to make changes or be prepared to make changes the following, is it Tuesday? I'm not sure when I'm back in here. Go.
Jack, when is our next markup, committee discussion on this bill?
Looks like Tuesday at 1.
Yep, Tuesday at 1.
Okay, so that's
Yeah.
very timely because we'll be able to hear back from folks about how the conversation went on Monday. And then we definitely need to invite Secretary Riley Hughes in to come and give her formal, her formal response to the bill and how the language is shaping up. And I think we have right now, next week's agenda is a little bit blocky. It's got a lot of nebulous times that are just kind of labeled committee discussion and markup.
30 minutes.
If things are moving along, we could vote this out
Yeah.
next week. I don't think we want to bring it to the floor before town meeting week. So, for example, we could vote it out next. This is just, I'm making this up, but we could vote it out next Friday. Then Rep. Campbell would have all town meeting week to prepare his floor report.
Just what I want to do in town.
Well,
Yeah.
we'd have a bit of time.
Yeah.
And then it would be on notice Tuesday. This is where I get,
Yes.
hello clerk. Yeah,
Yes.
it would be on notice Tuesday and on the floor on Wednesday.
For second reading.
Yeah, for second reading. So Tuesday it would be on the notice calendar. Wednesday, it would actually be on the floor for second reading. And you guys have already noticed tends to be more the big presentation. If there's any debate, conversation, we vote. And then Thursday would be third reading, which often is hopefully yep, and we send it over to the Senate.
So if somebody outside this committee wants to speak about it and make an amendment, they do that at the second reading.
They can also do it at third reading. It more typically happens at second reading.
No, I just,
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah,
They would typically bring the amendment to the committee for a straw poll vote on.
on Tuesday before or.
Yes, there'd be hopefully enough notice where the speaker might require that.
Think you knew that?
no,
No, it's okay. It's okay.
So,
yeah.
once the bill is sort of out there, on the notice calendar, that's when other members who are not in our committee often will read it and say, I have a question about this or that. Typically, to be honest, they will just come to someone on the committee and say, I have a question about this. What's that? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Which then they don't want to, they don't feel like they need to bring an amendment. They're good. They've had their questions answered. Sometimes they really have a thing and,
This is not a controversial bill. This is.
I don't,
Knock on wood.
I don't
No.
think it is.
No, I don't think, well, to me, it's not. So.
Right.
So it's not,
Right.
it's not like education bill or.
Right. So, or climate bill. So, that's one thought is that, we have next week to work on this, but we're getting down to the wire here. I don't want to vote it out. I don't think we should try to bring it to the floor next week. I think that's pushing it. But we should know that Friday would be great timing. And Tuesday I am not here. So we actually can't vote on it on Tuesday. So it's either Friday or Wednesday after town meeting break, in which case it would be on the notice count, it'd be on the floor on Friday.
Friday sounds like a great goal and.
To vote it out next Friday?
Yeah, and just the continuing, ADS
Mhm.
back and forth that there may.
Yeah, we want to allow time for
For letting
that.
it percolate a minute.
So, yeah,
Instead of saying, we're gonna vote it out, can we say we'll vote on it?
yeah. We can take, yes, sorry about that. I'm making assumptions. So actually, we're live right now. This is actually a great time for people to weigh in because, this language may change, but the broad outlines of the bill are here. And it's always good for folks to have a chance to raise their hand and say, I'm not going to vote for this, or I'm not on board yet, or I'm on board if X, Y, or Z. We talk about those things openly here in our committee family. So
Would you like some feedback?
sure. I mean, I am voting for this bill.
Yes. I intend to vote for this bill, provided that we are able to address that, when does it start, situation. And I think we can. I think that the secretary has indicated, and I think it's a good thing that the, deputy auditor highlighted. So I intend to vote for it, provided we can get that resolved.
Rep Campbell?
Yeah, I think this is a really important thing that we get a handle on the enormous amounts of money we spend on IT as a committee, but also providing that information to the public, that kind of transparency to the public. I feel like it's really important. I'm very hopeful that we're going to get to a place where we have some meeting of the minds with the folks at ADS and with all of us in this room, and we can vote it out unanimously, and it'll be something that it's good. It's a good improvement in effective government. I hope to support it.
Rep Bale?
I'm still thinking about it.
Okay. Is there anything, this is a good time to, if you have a specific thought on, I'd like to see this, or these are the questions I need answered, definitely be thinking about that, because by the time a week from now rolls around, I would love to see this leave our committee unanimously. So now's the time to think, I'm stuck on this, I'm stuck on that, what about this or that? And, a unanimous vote is that's my hope, obviously. I don't control that. Rep Mark?
I think it's a good first step. I'm thinking about this kind of as an iterative process, and kind of leaning into the secretary's approach of going back and forth and her willingness to share information. And I think we need some oversight. If they already have the information, then this isn't requiring them, in my mind, to recreate it. It's just, we need to see it, right? So it's not like making them do a whole new thing that they haven't done before. As long as the information's there for us to see, then that's the important part. And so I'm supportive of this.
I would like to see what ADS has to say.
Okay.
Because that's a very important piece to me. I don't want to recreate the wheel. I did not want to put burdensome costs and time on an agency. When they have the information, I support the oversight because I think that's important. But at the same time, I think we need to make this as simple a thing to comprehend as we can, and not make it so that future committees look at it and go,
What is
this? Simple to me is good, as long as simple equals direct information that all can understand. Provided that's part of it, I would support the bill.
Great.
I'm concerned about the redundancy and the cost, and we still haven't talked. We probably have to wait from ADS of what their personnel costs? And are they gonna, how big a deal is this gonna be for them? Is it gonna add staff? Is it gonna add additional costs? And the other concern, when I go back to town meeting day, is what hasn't come off the table here. Like, I don't take my trash every week to the transfer station, but when I do, I get spoken to what's going on up here. So that doesn't mean an abstention because of lack of other work at this point.
Okay,
I'm in favor of this bill. I, like others, I'm eager to hear what ADS has to say to refine it in the best way. But it seems like a great start. Certainly learned a lot already.
yeah.
I share the concerns voiced by Representatives Howland and Southworth about creating extra work. I also share the hope, which I voiced earlier, that an agency of digital services can figure out how to automate a lot of this, so there's not a lot of human extra work involved in pulling data they have into a format that we want. And you know, our discussions about continuity also, you cut both ways. And we have said, feels like we have a Secretary of ADS now who's very open and helpful and supportive, and that might change. We also have a committee now that in general feels like would like to have this as a tool to fulfill our oversight obligations, but the makeup and the leadership of this committee may change. But all in all, I think we do our work right per what Rep. Southworth said. We create something that is simple, and I think your goal as well. I want to be able to see it at a glance. I want to be able to see what's going on. If we do that work well, it will be a useful tool for whoever the next version of this committee is. And I think we can only, absent being able to see into the future, we have to assume goodwill and diligence on the part of our successors, that they're going to want to fulfill their obligations. And if we create a tool that works really well for us, it should work well for them as well. So with the various caveats, I am also in favor of this bill.
Are we saying here were we gonna leave when it's due every year? Do we put in there when it's due every year?
The annual report.
Yeah, is that Representative Kleppner's and Representative Southworth's comments made me think. I hear strong consensus that we want to see the information and we don't want to create a bunch of time and money for ADS. So, and we want to make sure it's people, future committees use it. And so I am now wondering when ADS submits its annual report, is it a January 15th thing?
I am looking for this.
Okay,
It's not, it calls into this, the governor's annual budget request, but I don't think that there is a date that,
oh, I see,
Coordinates.
concurrent with the governor's annual budget request. All right, that's it.
yeah, it's not a specific date there, but,
That's okay. That gets at what I was getting at, which was the trigger, that we try to build in as a legislature, is that these reports are sent to the Committee of Jurisdiction on such and such a date every year. And we can't make future committees look at it, but
They have to get the report. They have to accept it. They don't have to read it.
They don't even have to accept it.
No. As long as
they have to get it.
It's in statute.
Yeah, it says that it shall be submitted.
Oh,
if I make a point here, some of these reporting has, the reports go to specific committees. Right now, this legislation just says shall submit to the General Assembly. Wouldn't be the worst idea to specify this committee.
Let's add that. Let's get ourselves in there.
Okay.
And this report, she has this down January
25th. So that is concurrent with the governor's annual budget request.
Okay.
Because that was when Gov came in, and third week in January is typically when the governor comes in and gives his budget.
But this isn't a separate, you want this bill in here. Is that right? Or
I'm imagining
We're shaping
a similar
that.
timing, yeah. Mhm. Yeah,
I want to come back to, point I think perhaps also made about this being an iterative process and maybe, I'm trying to think of a way to include that concept in here because I think we want it to be simple, we want it to be understandable, and that's really hard. So I think that if when you look at in other realms, people trying to create something that is simple to look at and get glean important information from, it goes through several iterations while people try to figure out how to do that, how to present that information in an easily comprehensive way. So I guess I'm trying to think of a way to include the concept of iteration, iterativeness, the word is here. Maybe it's just adding something like we specify a lot of data points, and maybe we add at the end and other information that deemed important by the agency or something like that by the secretary. I'm trying to get at some way to improve that concept of iterativeness, let's into this, and if anybody has any better idea, that would be great. But
maybe you could ask through.
yeah,
So I feel for your plan. Okay, and let's all stay in touch. You know, we'll continue to talk about the bill all next week so that we're all staying in touch about how everybody's feeling about the bill.
Super, thanks. And I'm done. I'll probably also add the Senate committee, which I imagine is the institutions
Yeah,
and
institutions.
IT, I believe is there.
Can't remember their title.
Yeah,
it's just oh, maybe they do have another.
I think, yeah, they just changed it.
Yeah,
Yeah, this session.
Yeah.
Saw that usually you have a Senate and House counterpart in the reporting.
Okay,
And secondly, I probably won't have a draft on Tuesday since I'll be wanting to hear what the committee wants to do.
great.
I'll have listened hopefully to the meeting on Monday, and I'll be here ready to convert what you all decide into language.
Okay,
Maybe for the following Wednesday or Thursday. Next week's gonna get crazy. Just my schedule.
well, let's book
as
you
well.
now then. Before you go, please,
Okay.
let's get you blocked in.
So I may just need to be flexible, just so you know. You can
Okay.
block me, but there's going to be several people pulling me in different directions.
Okay.
There'll be time to do it. Just putting it out there that it may need to be a little flexible.
Okay, and right now our agenda is a little nebulous. We just have big blocks that are sort of like committee
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah. And I'll communicate with Jack and you on that.
Okay,
That's it.
all righty. Rick, thank you so much.